The European Union reprimanded France this week for overspending, which could lead to hefty fines and create challenges just before the country's legislative elections. Joining us now, Michelle Caruso-Cabrera. She's a CNBC contributor. Wait, you? Yeah, you are a CNBC contributor. I know you. How you doing, Michelle? MCC.
Good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I don't know where to start. I mean, I'd like to start with whether the possibility of this not being around in 10 years has become more. I mean, I see what Marine Le Pen says that, you know, we need to do what
the euro. You're talking about the euro.
The EU, in general, in Brexit and everything else. I mean, is it? That's not going to happen. But those were some weird elections we had, weren't they?
Yeah, so last time I covered the French election for you guys back in 2015, that was one of the discussions about how there was a party in France that very much wanted to leave the EU and abandon the euro. They've since dropped that. That is no longer one of any party in Europe really talking about that. So the European project, I think, at this point still feels very much like it's holding together. And the current situation, I don't even want to call it a crisis, where we've seen the French stock market fall dramatically and French bond yields rise fairly dramatically because of the upcoming election. Still, I mean, you're talking about a 10-year yield of 3% for France. So it's not quite crisis. It's higher than Germany. It reflects the fact that investors are concerned about the spending levels in France, which are very high, too high, and an election that's coming up that surprised everyone is likely to lead to more spending, not less. So that's the drama that they face. But leaving the EU and the euro, that's not in the cards, at least not right now.
Obviously, the whole issue of Putin and Ukraine and energy still looms large because the continent deindustrialized and sort of outsourced a lot of its most basic industrial needs. And I don't. How do you fix that? And how long does it take?
Yeah, well, and Germany abandoned nuclear power, right? They could reverse that if they wanted to, and then they would have more reliable power as well. Yes, but that could be a decision that they make. They've made a lot of decisions. You can't help but feel bad for Europe, right? If you go back to 2008, the U.S. economy and the European economy were the same size, $14 trillion. Now, fast forward to 2021. That's the most recent data that we have out of the European Union. And the European Union's economy is now roughly $15 trillion, whereas the U.S. economy, 2021, was $24 trillion, right? Europe doesn't grow. They don't grow for a number of reasons. They don't grow because of some of the issues that you've raised, Joe, when it comes to the choices they've made about energy, et cetera. And it's also because they have an attitude that's very, very different than the United States in terms of the way they see the role of government, et cetera. Very confusing. In France, you'll hear about the far right and the far left. When you look at their economic policies, they're actually both about spending more. So the most conservative economic party in Europe would be one that is the equivalent of the Biden administration. There's just more of an expectation that there will be intervention, regulation, subsidies, et cetera. And it holds them back. So they think first about regulation more than they think about growth.
Well, thank God we have a clear choice here about how much these two candidates spent in their respective presidencies. And, then they differ so much.
There's been emerging in the United States. I don't disagree either there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have such stark differences on tariffs and the like. What's gonna happen with Macron? Do we know for sure?
So what's coming? The election that's coming up in France is the equivalent of our midterms, right? It's a legislative election. He's not on the ticket. Different than the United States is if there's a very bad outcome, he could say, you know what, I'm going to step down. We're going to call an early election. He has insisted that is not going to happen, that he's going to stay in power for his full term until 2027, and then he will have a prime minister who could very well be in the opposition, which would make it very difficult for him to do more reforms that would help the deficit in France. But, so far, he says he's staying no matter what, even though the polls suggest that his party is going to do very, very poorly.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it's time for a look-see in that country for Squawk Box. Becky, don't you think? We may be coming over. I think we're going to come over.
You're coming to Paris, aren't you?
I think we're going to come over in late July.
Yeah.